been doing well so far. Um, I got a couple of things I want to talk about, and I think I'm gonna make two videos tonight because one is pertaining to some dreams, but I think I'm gonna keep this one at what's been going on and what I need to talk about tonight. So please bear with me as others know, and maybe there's some new people that came on here. I live by the mountain, so I pause in between when I talk because I don't want um, my volume or anything to go out because of my connection by the mountains. Because I have had that happen a couple of times when I was on here talking for like a couple of hours and my connection just went out. It made it seem like I was talking, but then I was talking for a whole 2 hours and then it cut a whole hour and a half off. So I do stop in between and take my time when I'm talking because of my connection by the mountains now that I live over here. So God bless everybody. I have something to talk about tonight. And excuse me, there's a lot of things God's been showing me this season. So this season I I just said I wanted some one-on-one time with Jesus. I want to cut out all the noise. I don't want to hear nothing. God knows I really don't like the internet. I never have and still don't. Um, but I always sit in his presence. And I'm thinking I just want to go deeper with God, but God had other plans in the background with me, and he took me into a really, really deep consecration. And it took me by surprise because that's I was just going off the phone just to get closer to our Lord Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. But God was like, no, I have something else for you. So let me tell you guys. So remember I was telling you guys months and months ago when I had the dream that I was pregnant and I had a baby boy in the car seat. God elevated me twice. So one night, it was probably around an ending of October, somewhere around there, September, somewhere. I was coming and I was walking into my home. I was opening up the door, and God spoke to me loud and clear. He was like, "I'm gonna elevate you again." I said, "God, you just elevated me double time some months back." So he said that, and that was just it. And then excuse me, before I go on, this season, I have a lot of things to talk to you guys about what the Lord was showing me in the background. So I'm really not going to have my comment section on. I would love to engage with you all and to, conversation about spiritual things. But right now, I have the comment section off. It's going to be off for some weeks now because I do have things to talk about. And I don't like looking at the comment section because sometimes it can be distracting when you got something really important to talk about. You upload a video or keep the comment section off until you have some downtime. But when I have something important to talk about, the comment section be off. So back to what I was saying. So I said, God, you just elevated me twice, months back prior. He said that and left it like that. I didn't do anything. So one day I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on the internet, God. I just want to be in your presence and get away from God. I tell you guys that all the time. Put your phones down and get in God's presence. You never know where he might take you. When I got in his presence, I didn't know he was going to have me in his presence that long because of the things. And then it dawned on me. A dream that he gave me in the middle of the consecration, and it was confirmation to myself. And I remember he said, I'm about to elevate you again. And boy, he did. When I tell you, this was one of my hardest consecration I ever been in. But I wanted to quit multiple times, but I said, nah, I can't quit because it was just that hard because of some of the fast that God had me doing in this consecration. But I pray that everybody is doing well. So in this season of my deep consecration that God had me on, that was the time I spoke about this in a video. When you go through, you got three wilderness. You got the initial stage wilderness, then you got the correct stage wilderness, and then you got the restoration wilderness. There are three wilderness that you go through. God will take you through multiple wilderness. You're going to go through multiple wilderness in your walk with Christ. Don't think that you're going to go through one wilderness and that is just it. No. You will go through multiple wilderness in your life. God, every time he takes us through, it doesn't matter which wilderness he's taking us through, whether this the initial wilderness after you get saved, whether it is a wilderness of corrective, because sometimes leaders need to go get corrected in their walk still. Don't let these leaders fool you like they're perfect on this internet, because nobody is perfect. Okay. And then you go through restoration wilderness. That's when you're resting. And this is another part that a lot of leaders don't know how to do. They don't know how to rest. See, when you're not resting, taking season off the rest in God's presence, you're on here performing. This is why I say, how can a leader get on this internet or be busy 24/7 and you don't even sit in God's presence? Everybody need a season of restoration. That is the season he still can refine you. You becoming a student again. He still can teach you. And he's maturing you, especially in those restoration seasons. So this consecration, I can't tell you the name of this consecration that God put me in. Only a couple of people know about this, but I can tell you a little bit why I named this video Atmosphere Shaker. So many of you know that have been following me a long time. I got some newcomers. I am a traveling minister. God have me travel to different cities and states to tear down strongholds over different cities and states. And you're going to figure out why I call this video Atmosphere Shaker. When I put my feet on the ground, I'm coming to shake up some atmosphere on the internet or off the internet. Now, what I want to share with you guys today is really not solely about me, but it's about what God did in the background, what he does when he raises his people up to operate in a certain type of authority. And I'm not talking about authority of a spiritual controlling over someone. I'm talking about an authority in the spiritual realm. When you walk in places, people can sense you. And they're like, I can't stand by her. They get nervous because they know that you're walking for real with the Lord. They can feel God's presence on you. Those are atmosphere shakers. The ones that can go in their prayer closet and can tear down and call down fire on demons when they praying in spiritual warfare. Those are atmosphere shakers. Now, I did a video. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a video. It's called When Weapons Form. What are you going to do? I believe that's the name of the title of the video. And in that video, I was telling you guys that my gifts are multi-dimensional. See, a lot of people get spiritual realm and dimensions mixed up. And before I really get into this, let me break down what spiritual realm and multi-dimensional mean, because this is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Let me put it in the easy way so you guys can understand. In the spiritual realm, it's like the unseen. And when it's talking about dimensions, we're talking about layers and structures and describing layers and structures of things. Like, okay, the spiritual realm is the house. And then when you go inside the house, you got doorways, you got doors, you got windows, you got hallways. Those are called structures, okay? See, in the season, I was a soldier, but God had elevated me to a way above a soldier in the spiritual realm. Because he told me last year that in 2024 that I was a teenager in the spiritual realm because of the stuff that I knew. But he was growing me fast at a fast pace lately. He's been growing me at a fast pace lately. So I was explaining in that video that's called When Weapons Form, what are you going to do? I was talking about Isaiah 54:17 in the live video that I did probably like three and a half months ago. And I was talking about my gifts are multidimensional. There's people that have one gift. There's people that have multiple gifts. And there's people that do have more than one gift that God will put more gifts on you. If you see that you're operating and doing what you're doing with the gifts, he'll give you more gifts. Like it said in Matthew chapter 25, the parable about the people that had the gifts. So he was giving me more gift and more gift. You know that I'm a seer. He called me a judge to be a judge in 2023. I have prophetic dreams. I have end time prophetic utterances, that stuff that God shows me. He calls me to pray for celebrities. That's why I dream about celebrities sometimes, because that's everybody can't do that. But he'll give dreams to people about celebrities because he wants us to intercede for them. So what God was showing me this season, he said, Heaven Choice, your gifts have grown so mature. I have to put your gifts on another level. He said, your gifts have already reached this higher power level. And he was telling me that my gifts in this season, that he had to merge it and lock them together. And it's that when you merge the gift and locked it together, all my gifts are merged and locked them together. And he said that is extension of a general. So he was saying you are a general this season in your spirit, not a general by title, general by authority, because my gifts are in the dimensions where I can see structures and layers of things. And I've been noticing a lot of things. I said I have noticed a lot of things throughout the whole years. And throughout that time, I was telling y'all, I write down everything that God would show me was going on behind the scenes, especially with the body of Christ in the church. So I'm gathering all my notes, and everything that I have seen for years was going on. And so when my gifts came at a high level, God merged all of my gifts into one, and he merged it in an extension of a general in the spirit. Okay? See, when God gives us multiple gifts, and those gifts operate across different dimensions by itself, he will merge them together. And that's what makes you a general in the spirit. Not general again, not by title, but general in authority. This is the reason why there are certain people that he will call to different countries, different nations, different cities, different states. I travel all around it and I break up these territories. I'm an atmosphere shaker. He know that. He was growing that in me over the years. I break up structures and demonic assignment in different cities and different states. He has called me to do that. I was like, okay, Lord, I know you've been calling me this, so you've been calling me to go around all these cities, but what was the whole purpose? And the last time he told me before this year up, he was like, I'm gonna elevate you again. So I didn't know it. I didn't think anything of it. I just went on by my life. That's all he said. I went on, continue on living. And then when I came to get closer to God, he had other plans to show me the authority that he placed in me. This is the revelation that God was giving me throughout the whole time that I was spending time with him. Generals, they govern from above not on the surface. So basically, my mantle is with multiple mature gifts that God fused them into one governing identity. And he said, you are a general in the spirit. He allowed my gifts to mature to a certain level, and he fused them together. So I'm looking above and I can see structures of things that others can't see. I'm not the only one that see these things. There are other people, but I just got on my level because I know there's some other people that I've seen that I can see that they are general in the spirit. I didn't know what it was back in the day till God was breaking things down to me this past season. But not everyone has multiple gifts. Everyone that has multiple gifts won't become generals. Only the ones who have reached this dimensional maturity. This is the stuff that God was breaking down to me in the background. Some people might have multiple gifts, but their gifts might be underdeveloped and inconsistent. See, I was never inconsistent with God. I was always consistent with God. And that's why he kept giving me gifts after gifts after gifts. Because I was consistent with the ones that he gave me. Not everyone has multiple gifts. Some people have one gift and they use that gift, like Leandra Johnson. She has the gift of singing. She can sing. There's people just have, they want to give this people to have multiple gifts. But if you're underdeveloped and you're not consistent with your gift, it will never reach it high where it needs to be. A lot of people walk with God for a little bit until they see things and I can't take this. I can't do it. It's too much, God. I want to go back to my old self. Or some people get stagnated and they walk and they just want to stay on that level. I've never been that person that wants to stay on my level. When I do things outside of my walk with Christ, I'm still an overachiever. That's just me, period. That's just me. When I put my eyes on something, that's how I want to get something done. I get it done. I'm an overachiever. I always been an overachiever because I feel like we need to give God our all. We can't be coming here half stepping with him. One day you want to pray, next day you don't. 1 minute you on fire, the next minute you cold. No, we can't do that with God. We got to stay consistent with God because he's always consistent with us. But again, I want to tell you, body in Christ, general is not about a title you claim. It's not about a title you claim. It's about the weight of authority God has entrusted in you. God trusted me so much that he sends me to these different cities to tear down these demonic structures over these territories. Because he could have called anybody to do it. God ain't gonna call no lazy person out here to do some of these things that some people, their mantles are very heavy. God is not gonna call certain people to do no lazy work. Not lazy work, but he don't call nobody lazy to do some heavy work for him. He wants somebody that's consistent. And see, a lot of people, they get upset with the next person. They want to walk in your shoes, but they didn't know what you went through in the background. They want your authority, but they didn't know how consistent you were with your spiritual exercise and your spiritual walk in the background. They want to be in your shoes, but don't know what you go through in the background with spiritual warfare, how God is training you. They want to be labeled and titled this, but they can't prove themselves unto y'all that what they talking about, they really had labor for real in the background. We're not going to do that. Mm-mm. We got to learn how to look at our own walk and don't look at nobody else's walk. Because somebody that's starting off and they walk Christ cannot handle the warfare that I go through. So it's all about being consistent with God in everything that he gives you in life. I don't care what God put. If God tell you to go serve at a homeless center for 5 years, go be obedient and do it. You don't know how is that going to grow you, mature you in your spirit. It might have you that working in a homeless shelter will have you have patience for the needy. And God might try to teach you to be selfless. You don't know what God may do. Just do not disregard anything that God has for you to do in life. I start off a little bit and God will put more and more on me. But what God has been showing me recently is that not only the general is recognized because my gift has sharpened at another level, it upgraded. And I have shown God that I'm battle proven ready. I am. I am battle proven ready. And when God put all those mature gifts together, that's when you get someone operating in dimensional levels, not realms, but dimensions. Just a second. My apologies, my apologies. So, I forget where I was. Okay. Yeah, so what God was showing me is that during that time I was doing some reading in the word and I realized that there were a couple of people that God have gave multiple gifts to be general in the spirit. Deborah was one, Moses was one, Elijah was one. They had carried different assignments that was on general level spiritual authority. And when you go read Ephesians 6, when it explains about the dark side of demonic realm of the spirit, the powers and darkness and wickedness in high places, that is ranking. God does have rankings for us in the spiritual realm. God has ranking for us in the spiritual realm, and the dark side has ranking in the spiritual realm too. So a lot of people might think, oh, she's trying to say general because she's trying to make herself seem important. I'm not trying to make myself seem important about nothing. Okay. I'm just in obedience And these things were broken down to me in the background. And there are some people that do understand this and some people that probably won't understand. But the season was it was really hard for me. And I'm going to talk about in this video how God had to stretch me to download all these things into me. So God has been talking to me about a lot of things. He's been showing me things throughout the years about how I did have general level traits. And a lot of people might take it as, oh, we can claim it as a title. That is not a title. That's a spiritual authority. That's heaven only recognized that as spiritual authority, not a title. But I can name you some of the things that God was showing me in the background about it. All generals have multiple gifts, and your gift had to mature over the years. And then God will take you through crushing seasons to merge them into one. And these wilderness training is very intensifying. When I tell you it's very intensifying, I told you I wanted to quit multiple times. You have to go through battles in your walk that shapes your authority. This is why I see when the people come online and claiming that they're apostles, they're prophets, they're teachers, they're pastors, I always ask them, what battles you went through that shape your authority. So if you can tell me what battles that you went through that shape your authority, then I'll believe that God had called you to be a leader. There are a lot of immature people out here claiming to be leaders, but they can't even tell you what battles they've been through that shape their authority. Has God ever called you over territories, nations, or systems? If God had never called you over territory, nations, or systems, you still in training, or you just never been trained. But when God does call you over territories, nations, and systems, and he knows that your multiple gifts have matured at a certain limit and certain height, he'll take that mantle and he will merge those gifts into one dimension. And that's how your gifts will function. All your gifts will be merged into one. You'll understand by the end of the video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Your gift has to be risen to their highest level individual. Then God will merge your gift into one operation flow. So when generals move or when they step on the scene, they're called atmosphere shakers. We're shaking the ground. When generals step on the scene, they are dismantling spiritual patterns. When generals step on the scene, they come with a different command level and authority over realms that others cannot see or touch. Now, a lot of people are not going to understand that. Because there are certain people out there that think they're mature, and there's people out there that's so immature they really think that they're leaders out here. But I want you guys to know, even though I talk about how long I've been saved, how long I know spiritual warfare, my time doesn't equal a title. You know what's the most important thing? The most important thing that I can say during my whole walk with God is that my consecration had equaled my authority. I spend time off of here in consecration with God a lot. I don't sit on the internet like everybody else do. And then the rest of your leaders that get on every day, 2-3 times a day. I don't do that. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out here that have been saved longer than me, but I see a bunch of emotional, immature, easily insecure, easily offended, stuck in comparison, title hungry, platform dependent, and driven by their own image over this internet that wants validation from people. That's not me. That's not me. God does not give this authority through people to people that wants recognition. They want followers. They want influence. They want a title. They want spiritual fame. They want to be number one in position on the internet. God does not give authorities to people like that. He gives authority to the humble of heart, the ones that know how to get in his presence, go into consecration with him. See, my position and my stance in this season is past all that. And plus, it's not me doing it anyway. God does cause my spirit, calls my spirit. It's so heavy when he calls my spirit. And I say, okay, Lord, I want to spend some time with you. I don't care about all this internet stuff. I want to spend some time with you. And I'm right there one-on-one with Jesus. But then he had other plans that he showed me this season. But most ministries, they focus on reaction and responding to attacks and they be responding to visual problems 100% of the time of their ministry. But generals, we have to learn how to move different. Our spiritual move right now, if God called you to be a general, is above the battlefield. We are identifying patterns. We're dismantling systems. We're dismantling governing demonic atmosphere. This is why generals aren't concerned about recognition or platforms, because we operate in an alignment with God's order, not human applause. So this season, this is what God is calling me to do over the internet. When I'm sitting at the authority of a general, a lot of videos y'all going to be seeing coming up is going to be about me identifying patterns in demonic systems and breaking down structures of things that I see is going on in the body of Christ. I'm going to be talking about this in a lot of videos coming up. While a lot of people striving to be content creators and influencers, I'm striving to shift atmosphere, okay? Moving in dimensions, spiritually govern things, and the list just goes on and on and on. I don't operate from no platform. This season, God has me operating from dimensions. Generals sit high from high dimensions, and we look down on the spiritual realm because we got to see the structure to call it out and dismantle it. In this season, I'm no longer looking at people sideways. I'm looking downward from above, looking at the spiritual system, what's going on inside of these churches, online and offline. And one thing I have realized, and I seen it when I was walking outside one day, I was in Walgreens. When generals walk in a room, we carry a certain territory, a territory presence. And I was in Walgreens, and this lady was in front of me. And because I was on a certain fast, and she was like so nervous around me. Like she was probably in her 30s or whatever, late 20s. But when I came behind her in the line, I just seen, she was calm. And she just started getting nervous. She couldn't keep still. She was picking up candy. Then she went back in line. Then she got her shopping cart. Then she had her shopping cart. She would, twirling it around in a circle in front of my face. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, God, why is this lady acting like this? I was like, God, why is this lady acting like this? Acting like she can't keep still. And God says she sensed the atmosphere shaker around you. She sensed your authority. But I already know she's not a part of the body of Christ. Then when you walk in a certain type of authority, I'm not saying people supposed to be scared of you, but it's God's presence. Because that certain type of authority, you got authority, especially if you're a general, you got authority that these people around you know that you're a type of person that can shake up atmosphere. I know I'm not the only one that's saying this. There's other people I've seen that had God had upgraded to generals in the spirit. I'm still a seer, but I'm a general. But all my gifts are merged, infused into one. But I was in Walgreens and she took her shop. She did it about 2 or 3 times. Like she couldn't keep still. So I'm just standing behind the lady, just looking at her like, okay. My daughter was with me. We were just sitting there looking at the lady. She just spinning her with no, she had no ADHD. She was looking normal until I came behind her. Because whatever spirit, unclean spirit on her, it got unsettled. You supposed to, like, when you know you walk in your authority, when you step in a room, people's spirit supposed to get unsettled because God's spirit is resting on you. Authority is resting on you. Excuse me, that's my daughter in the background. She fell asleep next to me. But that's what happened when I was in Walgreens. And I was like, so I started praying for her. I started praying for God to calm her down because she was acting a little bit too weird in front of my daughter. And I don't, you just never know how people be acting. People be flipping out in stores and stuff. So I just prayed for around me that the space, and I prayed for God to settle that lady. And she had settled down. She ended up settling down, and then she left the store. But there are a lot of people that's fighting for titles that I noticed before I went in my consecration. There are a lot of people fighting for titles online. They're fighting for a position online. See, God's people, we don't do that. When you know your authority, you don't have to fight for nothing. You don't have to prove nothing to nobody. Your fruits and everything that you do, what you put your hands to, when God see the fruits on your channel, your works, it'll speak for itself. And some of you guys, like I have seen before I got offline, some people they fight to stay in they horizontal positions and treating these platforms as if their platforms is a proof that they've been called. That's the reason why you will see a lot of people do the things they do on their platforms, because they're trying to use their platform to prove that they've been called. That's why you see a lot of them, they defend their self-righteousness. My work speaks for itself. The things that I do on my channel are going to speak for itself, whether people want to believe me or not. I'm not called for people to believe. You believe if you want to believe. If you don't want to believe, that's between you and God. But those type of people, what I was noticing before I got offline, those type of people, they got like platform dependency. Like, you got to learn how to switch it up. You got to learn how to move when God say move. You got some people that have been on here for years, and they don't know how to switch it up. So then they start defending their self-righteousness, and then they start performing a lie. The day when God tell me to hang this up, I'm gone. You got to know how to move when God tell you to. I am not trying to be platform dependency. I'm only on here for a season for God to finish telling me to do whatever I need to do. But whenever that day he tells me I'm coming close to the times that I need to get off here and really focus majority on my first ministry offline, because I do have a ministry offline, I'm going to hang it up and move on, because I have to take my gifts elsewhere. And I don't want to be like a lot of people that I see online. They don't know how to get off and move on, and God taking them somewhere higher. They want to be stuck on here, and that's their ministry day in and day out. That's not me. That is not me. And another thing, I know last season I said I was going to do certain things, but God told me to put some things on hold. because he was explaining to me, he was like, this season, when you're on that battlefield, excuse me, I can still be on the battlefield, but I'm still governing from above. But he said, generals don't look back to check on people who were never assigned to the battlefield. Okay. What God was explaining to me is, I place your authority in a general position. He was saying, don't glance back basically at rookies dodging drafts. I'm not going to look at people on the battlefield that were never called to be positioned on the battlefield in the first place. Generals don't need to do that. We're not going to bend down to listen to someone else who's not even called or positioned to be on the battlefield in the first place. This season, he said that stuff. He said this season coming up, don't do it. You going into 2026, don't do it this season. He's calling me to a different level, but the question is, will I still call people out on my channel? Probably in the future, but God put a hold to some things because he has a lot to talk about the season. I had a lot of writing to do. God was talking to me about a lot of things and stuff that I've been seeing throughout the years. And I have a lot of videos that I have to upload and get online and do some teaching about some structures and demonic things that I see was going on inside the body of Christ. So this season, now, I'm not going to make any videos about anybody, whatever, like I was doing the last season. That's on pause. I don't need to make any videos with people that never really was assigned to even be on the same level or in the battlefield as I am. So that would be wasting time. And it's just some things is just not noteworthy to me. So why do it? But I have to be obedient because God told me not to do it. Because God had called me to a higher stance in my walk. And I realized that I'm not even operating in the spiritual realm anymore like how I was before I got in this consecration. God put my gifts into another dimension where I'm looking over the spiritual realm and I see things in structures, in layers. So last season was fighting spirit season. Now God had put me on discerning the instructors of the spirits in this season. And this is what he told me. He said, daughter, I called you this season to deconstruct demonic patterns and systems that's rooted in people with evil motives. He had called me to tear down demonic frameworks off of things. He called me to break down spiritual systems and intercede and teach strategy and analyze spiritual infrastructure. This is what God called me to do this season. This is why I named this video Atmosphere Shaker. Because when I do it, I'm coming in like a meteor, a seismic. It's going to be a seismic, earthquake and earth shaking when I'm starting to tear down these demonic structures that I see online and all these spiritual demonic systems that was going on in these churches and outside of the church, the stuff that I've seen outside too, that I'm going to talk about. So yes, I'm coming in like a meteor. It's going to be seismic, ground shaking, earth shaking, and I'm going to hit the atmosphere on this internet about the stuff that I haven't seen going on. I'm not talking about anybody, but I will be breaking down demonic frameworks. And I will be deconstructing patterns and structures this season. But to add on, besides that, I am a seer. And I can see behind the curtains with things too. Still, it's already reached its highest level. God wants to use me to expose the roots of things and map out the patterns and identify these strongholds so people can understand the demonic system, things that been going on in church that y'all thought that was normal, that is not normal. This is things that I'm going to be talking about this year. What y'all call traditions is not traditions. It's just evil patterns that people been learned from generation to generation. The same thing what happened with Jesus was with the Pharisees. When Jesus was ministering around everywhere and the Pharisees was following Jesus, monitoring Jesus, Jesus was tearing down all the structures of their traditions. And what was in their traditions? Demonic patterns. Jesus was uprooting evil systems. What was going on with the Pharisees. And that's what God called me to do this season. That's why the Pharisees was mad at Jesus. And a lot of things that I am going to be talking about is going to be, some of the things I am going to be talking about is going to be in some parables. Um, Even though I will be breaking some things down, I don't have to break it down systematically where it's basically, I'm going to be breaking something, not all, but some things down in parables. I had to do a lot of writing things down in the background. And God said this season, he wanted me to write down a lot of things that I have, the more things that he told me and the things that I have already written down. But he had me to put them all together, because when I come and expose these things that's going on in the church, it's not talking about anybody. I'm exposing what's going on behind the curtains. There were a lot of things that I had to put in order. So he said he want this teaching, this season, to be structured. So I have to structure this teaching. This is not when I come on here and do Bible study and I'm freestyling and doing things. I have to structure this season, because I'm going to have to break things down for you all and take my time so you guys can understand. You guys' eyes are going to be open this season about, you're going to be seeing a lot of things about your leaders. You're going to be seeing a lot of things about the church system. This is the level that God has trained me in the background. It was intensive. It was very intensifying in the background. And like I said, when God had dropped it in my spirit about some more things that I had to put on, some other things he was discussing me about months and months prior, it hit me like a meteor, like it was a seismic. It was seismic. It hit my spirit seismic. It was earth shaking, the ground shaking when it hit my spirit, the stuff that God was telling me about. And I was like, whoa. In the beginning, it was very heavy. And God said, you're going to shake up some atmosphere this season. So best believe I'm coming to disrupt all of y'all comfort zones. I'm about to break down and collapse all of this false doctrine. Expose the counterfeits. This is what I'm about to do this season. Because you know why? While I was in consecration, excuse me, I became a weapon God had forged in private. When I said God forged it in private, I became a weapon that God had forged in private. So this season is going to be a little bit different for the ones that have been on here for a while. But for the newcomers, it's just still going to be new to you all. But in this season, I will tell you this. I will not let anyone come on my platform that God blessed me with, especially those with no debt, no scars, no foundation, and no spiritual experience, try to define me this season. You didn't last year. You definitely didn't last year. You definitely not this year. Okay? Now, God didn't call me to come on here to do low-level teaching that keep his people hooked on problems. See, I'm not trying to keep y'all hooked on problems. Real teachings are supposed to break cycles. Okay? Low-level teaching keep you hooked on problems, while real teaching breaks cycle. Low-level teaching, and again, it keeps people stuck coming back for the next episode. I'm not coming on here to speak circles and try to sound deep and nothing is breaking. Because what I paid the price for just recently, I felt like Ezekiel. I literally went back and read the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel. I was in between the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel. And when you go to Ezekiel chapter 3, you go to verse 15 to 23, it was talking about how God came to him and his power was so intensifying. God was downloading revelation and visions to Ezekiel. And it said Ezekiel fell on his face. His body became numb and he was overwhelmed. Meaning that Ezekiel was immobile. He couldn't even move his body. It was so much of God's power and weight of God's power and glory had came down on Ezekiel with these revelations and vision. And it says in Ezekiel chapter 3, it says that he sat there for 7 days overwhelmed. He sat there 7 days overwhelmed, not because he was weak. It was because the mantle was heavy. Okay? Ezekiel became so overwhelmed by God's glory, his mind was shut down. He couldn't even process or speak naturally. God sometimes had to block the human reasoning to allow his revelation to flow without interference. And that's what happened. In the beginning of my consecration, I felt like Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 3. When I tell you, God empty me. When I tell you God empty me. Empty me. In the beginning, when he was dropping all these revelation and getting the other teaching that some other teaching that I was supposed to talk about a while back, he was bringing. I had to go through some things even before I did. I don't talk about everything I go through online. You hear about it most of the time when I come back on here and talk about my teaching. I give y'all a snippet of the things, but I don't talk about no fully stuff. In the beginning of the consecration, it felt heavy. It's like when God is downloading information, if you're getting seismic revelation, seismic means earthquake and earth shaking revelation in your spirit. You're not coming on here no 8, 9, 10 minute, 15 minutes thinking that that's good, some real revelation. The stuff that God dropped in my spirit was so overwhelming. I felt like Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 3. Go read it. I had to go back and read it myself. I was in between reading the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel. So in the beginning, what God did, he said, this revelation is too heavy for you, Heaven Choice. I have to stretch you. I have to break you. I have to, God was crushing me. This is why I was saying I wanted to give up. He put me on a 40-day fast. And then he put me on another fast. Y'all, I'm telling you, I thought I wasn't going to make it. He crushed me this season. He crushed me. He stretched me because of the revelation that I have to talk about this season, the way I've been getting attacked in the background. It's like, you have, okay, let me use this for example. Everybody, if you ever move and you had to move some things into the storage because you didn't get your place, or you just want a storage to put some things in because it don't fit in your home. Now in the storage they have 5x5, 5x10, 10x20, and I think 20x20. In my spirit, God said, I cannot drop this revelation to you until I stretch you, until I crush you, until I expand you in your spirit to handle these things. And I need to get you on another level to handle this revelation that I'm telling you. God, because I was already, I probably was in a storage unit like, I don't know, probably like 10x5, somewhere like that, 5x10, I don't know, 5x20, I don't know. But God had literally stretched me I feel like he stretched me all the way like to 10x20 storage unit because it was so much revelation I couldn't even handle at that time. And I said, God, I can't do this. I can't do this, God. You have to do this another season. He said, nope, nope. I'm thinking I was just going into the consecration just to get close to Jesus and get off the internet and, just really spend time with God like I normally do. God had other plans for me. But then around that time he was crushing me, I remember that he said, I was going to elevate you again in your spirit. I think it was around the end of October or something like that. End of September, I was walking in from the grocery store with my girls, and he told me that. And I said, when I was in the consecration, I said, oh, that's what he meant. And he went silent. He didn't say anything. He just went silent. But it's the reason why. Everything that I have written down throughout the years, what I've seen, what's going on in the body of Christ all the way up until now, God was breaking this revelation of some teachings and stuff that's about to come up. And yes, I went through spiritual warfare in the background. Yes, I did. Every time when he brings, and I knew, I just knew, I knew it was heavy because of the warfare that I had to go through. And most of the time, I was just on my face, just worshiping him for hours, 12 hours straight, on my face, just worshiping. I have all the time to do that. I don't know about y'all, but I do. I was just worshiping in the word. I worshiping, just sitting in silence. It was so much stuff. He was telling me each thing to do for each week in my spirit around that time. But I didn't know that he was gonna right then drop me on a 40-day fast, and then did another fast after that. I wanted to quit so bad, body in Christ, but God wouldn't let me. And I don't want to let God down. I said, you know what, God, I just go through it. I go through it. I'm gonna come out. I know it's crushing me, but I'm gonna come out, God. But so I just want you all to know this is what's coming up this season of the teaching that I'm doing. It's not talking about anybody. It's about talking about the structures and patterns inside of the church and in the spiritual realm, the stuff that I see. Yes, my vision has gotten extremely too sharp, but I'm not here to prove myself to nobody, seek followers, or compete with anyone. I'm just here to teach, reveal, and shift atmosphere according to God's assignment in my life. So this is what it means to operate in mature multidimensional authority, to move in the spirit as a general, discerning these patterns and break down these strongholds. But if God is raising you for the same thing that I went through, I just want you guys to hear it and see it clearly. And if you're not, if God haven't raised you to be a general or anything, that's okay. Stay faithful where He's placed you right now. But this is what's happening in this season. And I just want you guys to understand the authority that God wants me to walk on here. You're not going to hear me come on here. So I'm like, this is your faithful sister, General Heaven to no. That's General is not a title. It's just a shift in my ranking of where I can actually see structures and into things. And like I'm already an analytical thinker, but and everybody know I write books for real. Um, God used my gift of writing, and He wanted me to structure the things and write them down. And I will be talking about these things this season for you all. But that's what God has for me this season is to do. But I'm going to cut this video off, and I'm about to drop a video about these people that I had a dream of. Yeah, I've been having dreams about. I've been praying for these celebrities and people that I've been having dreams about during this consecration. But I had a lot of dreams about some YouTubers. But I might tell the dream tomorrow, or I might just finish. I might tell it tonight. But I don't know. I said I was going to get back on here and do another video about. It's so important that, oh my God, they need to hear this. I'm gonna put the name on it, but I'm not gonna tag them in. I'm gonna put their name on it because God is not happy with them. God is not happy with them. I had a lot of dreams about people while I was during this consecration. I had a lot of dreams about some YouTubers, and it wasn't, no. God is not happy. I don't know if I want to talk about the dreams tonight, or shall I just? I'll probably get back on her later on and talk about it. But this year is gonna be a little bit coming up. This year coming up is gonna be a little bit different in 2026. I already told y'all, but the last video I did, 2026 is gonna be different, but it's gonna be different in the way that you guys normally see things going on. So I pray that you guys understand and be consistent with God so you can mature in your walk and He can call you higher. That's why I made that video come a little bit higher. A lot of leaders do not know how to sit in silence and let God elevate them and accelerate them, because they're operating off of a false spirit that I'm going to be talking about real soon. Not now, but everything will come into order. You guys are going to see a lot of things. Learn how to get offline and spend time with God. I don't care if you have to put a timer thing on your phone where you have to time your own self out. If you're so addicted to your phone, you have to fight back. You have to really fight back. I pray that you guys not spending hours and hours on this internet and on this phone. I pray that you guys are really spending time with Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach. I really pray that you all are spending time with Him. Put your phone down. When you're sitting at the table with your family, y'all put your phones down. Y'all pray over your food. You sit, have family time. You talk about the goodness of the Lord. Just put your phone away. This phone is going to ruin a lot of people's walk. I pray that everybody, I told y'all, when y'all see me get silent, Y'all better get silent because I'm moving. I'm like George Jefferson now. I'm moving on up in the spiritual realm. I ain't got time to be playing around. I want to do everything that God had called me to do. Um, while I'm here, I want to do everything that He called me to do. So you guys be blessed. I might be back on here later on. I might not. I don't know. I don't know. I'll probably be back on here to talk about the dreams that I had with these YouTubers. God is not pleased, and God has. I seen one of the dreams. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it in the video. I'm not going to mix it up. So you guys be blessed.